Performance is a new course here at East 15 Acting School, and we're simply looking at performance in a more global context, meaning simply we're looking at theater all over the world. We're looking at the kinds of productions and performance forms that have existed for thousands of years. The course is a practice-based course, the first of its kind. There are many courses or modules in courses that deal with world theater, but we are the only one that bring in master teachers from all over the world and from various types of performance forms to actually train our students for intense, 5 to 10 week programs. We hope to produce really intellectually astute actors and creators of theater who understand how to create theater from all aspects. So from the incitement of a concept to the creation of a script to the devising process of bringing that script to life and to the actual execution and performance of that for a live audience and drawing them into a wonderful experience, something truly unique, something truly astounding that brings something to them that is not what they've seen before. The first year on World Performance is about serious Western performance training. We believe that if you want to reach across cultures to work with other cultural forms, you have to have a good, firm understanding of your own style of performance. So we look at Western acting and all the skills related to it, voice, movement, and the acting techniques that we attack are various forms. We look at Stanislavski's early work, his later work in Method of Physical Actions, and then also where Michael Chekhov, his greatest protege, took Stanislavski's theories of performance and practice. We also look at performers and their practice-based methods such as Jerzy Grotowski and Sanford Meisner and reaction-based acting as well. So we are really basically creating comprehensive Western performers who understand Western theater in various methods. Though the focus is on Western performance training mostly in the first year, we begin to branch out and touch world theater forms like Chinese opera, Hula and Polynesian performance, Capoeira. Additionally, on year one, we focus greatly on music training. One thing we're very proud of is that for every show that these students do, they often, almost always, create their own live music on stage in front of the audience. The first year of World Performance culminates in a final showing. Though conservatoire training is often focused on in-studio work only for the first 2 years, our course differs greatly. The demands we put on our students are much higher. They're expected to understand theater in many ways beyond a simple acting program student. So for that reason, we expose them to audiences much faster, and we want them to work with audiences much earlier. For several reasons. One is it's a sort of an ethos of the course that you can't do theater in a box. Theater is only done for the audience, and if you don't understand the energy an audience supplies and how to play with that energy, you're missing out on a huge part of the process of theater creation. The final shows at the end of the first year, we bring in several directors for, so that the students are exposed to many processes and many methods of bringing a story to life on stage. And they learn various bits and bobs of production process as well in the first year, skills they'll build upon in year 2 and year 3, such as stage management, costume design, lighting design, music arrangement, things that will be important to them in the creation of their final project pieces and in their work when they leave us. One of the most exciting things about year 2 on World Performance is the Devising Festival, which takes place in the first term. And this is the time when the students basically get to put on their own full productions, literally from the page to the stage, from the concept to the realization. And we have some students take the roles of director, other students form small groups and devise a piece, and others even have writer-director processes where one person will actually create a script, others will direct it, and others will perform in it. And again, the students have the option of how they want to take part in the festival as long as they're vigorously involved. Everything we're exposing them to in the first year is now supplemented with directing workshops and workshops on creating different styles of pieces, everything from audience configuration to the use of light to the use of the actors on stage. We don't leave any potential stone unturned.
What are you saying? Have you forgotten me?
On year 2, we examine a module called Ritual and Religious Performance, where we look at what's truly at the core of sacred theater. This is looking back in our own culture to the Greeks, and also medieval theater to some extent, and across culture to everything from the Brahmins in India and their experiences with Bharatanatyam and Kathakali theater, classic Chinese performance forms. And for us, really, we look heavily at Africa. We look at the traditions of African drumming and African dance and chant that go along with this. We brought in a wonderful performer and artist and teacher named Angie Amra Anderson, who worked very intensely with the students for 2 entire terms on the creation of a dance drama piece from African legend called Abiku, the Child of Time. On year 2, we also have a module called Storytelling, which focuses on the oral transmission of stories and cultures. And for us, we examined stories of people who had been imprisoned, both in our own culture and around the world, political refugees, criminals, innocent and guilty, and what it's like to lose their freedom, and stories from inside the jail. We created a performance piece called The Jail, which was a promenade piece through various areas on our campus. And as part of this module, we also examined media skills, using a camera to record pieces of theater and creating pieces of work specifically for the camera, acting for the camera, and we use these pieces of The Jail as our source material for this work as well. In year 2, later in the year, we explore a module called Comedy, in which we look at comic improv, writing for television and stage, for comedic scenes, and also stand-up. We also explore a module called Gender, in which the students learn to examine their own cultural identity through gender and sex, and also play across type, men playing women, women playing men, swapping gender types as well, besides simply swapping sex, or an understanding of women who are very butch or man-like, and men who are effeminate and sort of softer in their qualities. We decided to combine these 2 modules into a couple of productions, and since we had done a great deal of Shakespeare work in the first year and the second year, we thought we would launch a production of Taming of the Shrew as a comedic performance for the comedy and gender module. And throughout this, we had the men in the cast playing the women, but obviously as men dressed as women in drag, and the women in the cast playing men, obviously sort of as a burlesque performer fashion. And a lot of the comedy in this particular production resulted from this playing. We also got a great deal of stage combat training for the students in the second year, and we decided to bring this to bear along with the gender training in a production of Romeo and Juliet at the end of the second year. And in this production, we didn't play across sex, but rather we had Romeo played as a woman, but again as a woman who had been gender disciplined in what we consider very male aspects. And we had Juliet performed as a man, but again as a man in a society where males are raised with the qualities we commonly endow with women. By far the crown jewel of the second year of our course is a module called Visiting Artist, where we bring in world-class performers, instructors, and master teachers from all over the world to work with the students on very intensive case studies. First, we brought over a wonderful Balinese master teacher named Pak Nieman Sedana, who instructed the students in Wayang Kulit, which is Balinese shadow puppetry, and Wayang Wong, which is Balinese dance, the playing of the gamelan, or the classic traditional Balinese gong orchestra, topeng, or Balinese mask work. And finally, of course, the wonderful sort of monkey chant work of the Kechak, which is a vibrant, dynamic sort of trance dance performance of Bali that's world famous for its energy levels and really interesting presence on stage. At the end of this case study, we brought in a lovely young woman named Tracey Leong, who is a graduate of the Central Academy of Chinese Opera. She came down for, again, 5 weeks of intensive work on Jingju, or Beijing Opera training with the students, where they eventually mounted a production of Women Generals of the Young Family. Year 3 of World Performance is about taking everything to the next level. While we've been doing productions in the first and second year, usually these productions have been tackled as sort of on top of other modules and classes and skills training. In Year 3, we focus on exactly what a professional experience would be like out in the industry when they leave us. In other words, each term they tackle one major performance project, and that's all they tackle for the term. In Term 1, we tackle an intercultural theater project, and for this we brought down two very esteemed, internationally acclaimed guest directors. The first being David Say Kashing, the former artistic director of Yellow Earth and currently the artistic director of the Chinatown Art Space, who has worked across the Far East, both in Japan and China and Hong Kong, and works quite often in London. He came down to create a wonderful piece with our students called Whitesnake, which explores a classic Chinese myth of romance and action-adventure and betrayal and religion versus nature.
Sercem jestem dziś, gdy się przyglądasz mi.
Half of our third-year students explored a piece called A Tainted Dawn with the wonderful director Christine Landon Smith from Tamasha, who came down and remounted this production, which she originally mounted in Edinburgh and for a world tour. And again, this performance explores the partition of Pakistan from India in the 1950s and the terrible refugee situation and all of the various atrocities that resulted, massacres and mass migrations from this incredibly ill-thought-out political choice.
I just came by to say I look after you and your family. They'll be all right. I'll take a coat.
Thank you. It means a lot.
In the second term of the final year, the students tackle a module called Political and Applied Theatre. We brought in a wonderful artist from London who works with Tracey and with Blind Eye Theatre Company named Oliver Jones to guide and mentor this module along. For the first part of the module, he trained them in various political theatre forms, such as the work of Augusto Boal or Brecht's dialectic theatre, and they engage in all sorts of activities such as invisible theatre performances on the High Street of Southend and other sort of shenanigans and hijinks they got up to. Then, during the second half of the term, they studied with him how to devise pieces that pack a political punch for an audience. And this work culminated in the development of 4 one-act plays, which appeared down here in our Clifftown Theatre.
Friends would visit her sometimes, but it was difficult. They'd only let people from either side of the wall meet. So we stood, one family, with the wall in between us.
Husband? Are you there?
No, Mum, we're here.
Hello? Are you all right? Are you okay?
We're both fine. We missed you.
For the first graduating year of the World Performance course, we decided that at the end of their year, like most courses do, we had to have some sort of showcase for the industry. However, unlike the usual showcase format of scenes and monologues, we decided in order to show off the richness and the diversity of the training this course offers, that we would have a slightly different process. And this process began in term 1 of the final year and continued across all 3 terms, culminating in the development of 4 one-act plays with very small casts to show off all of the skills that these students have gained under our banner here. One of the most excellent aspects of this final project process was not only bringing the student skills together, but allowing them the creative freedom to really explore their own thoughts and ideas on stage. From the very beginning of this process, they were at the helm, from coming up with the concepts and the themes that they wanted to tackle in these pieces, to writing the scripts, to staging the plays, designing the tech, and of course bringing these performances to life as performers on stage. stage. The first of these pieces, called No Place, is an excellent example of the kind of creativity they brought to bear. Again, No Place, the title of this piece, is a play on the Greek word utopia, which we of course know means an ideal place or society. However, in true complex Greek philosophy, it also means no place, as in no utopia truly exists. And this play, incorporating tons of African dance, ritual drama, stage combat, and also incredibly interesting scenes played through poetic text about complex relationships between people in this society, shows us a deserted island with a small community thriving on it, or we think thriving at first, yeah? In a society that seems to be ideal, and a society that's returned to nature and has escaped the sort of humdrum rat race of the 21st century. However, at closer glance, we quickly learn that just by moving to a desert island and starting over, it's very difficult to cast away concepts that have grown in the human psyche, such as ambition, greed, and sort of the dark drive to control and oppress those around us. One of the beautiful things about the students exploring their own ideas was that we got 4 very distinct, different one-act plays. The second of these, Memento Vivre, was a very interesting piece that incorporated role performance, but much more subtly than the other pieces did. In sense, Memento Vivre is a take on film noir brought to the stage. A lot of use of recorded media, a very dark style, sort of a la film noir of femme fatales and strange betrayals and dark sort of doomed futures of people who have been born into bad circumstances. However, underneath this, there was sort of the subtlety and the pacing that we would associate with Noh theater or with Japanese drama layered on top. Turned out to be a very stylish performance, dealing with all sorts of powerful themes about the loss of the human soul.
What did she do to anyone?
Nothing! I came for her. I meant to kill her.
But she's dead! You got what you wanted, so leave! Leave me! Standing in my sister's blood!
Leave you lying in your own.
The third of these pieces, called Forest of the Forgotten, deals with a theme very near and dear to my heart. It tells 3 stories at the same time, which is quite interesting. It's set against the backdrop of a crumbling library that's lost its funding and is going to be sold and knocked down. However, in this library, a young girl named Matilda is told a wonderful, fantastic tale about a forest kingdom that faces its own destruction in this sort of fairy tale sense. Both of these are juxtaposed with and set against the backdrop of the story of Hypatia, one of history's not too often left unsung heroes. She was the librarian of the Library at Alexandria, one of the largest repositories of classical knowledge near the end of the Roman Empire. And of course, because she was a strong woman who spoke out for her ideas, an astronomer, a poet, an inventor, and her father's daughter in the sense that she was an educator and refused to obey and be pinioned by the social mores of her time, eventually a Christian mob tore her to pieces and burned her alive, and then burned her library down. And the burning of a library during classic time can seem like a very trivial event. However, the sheer loss of classical knowledge that occurred with this event is sort of a cautionary tale to us right now in the situation that we find with people moving from books to iPads and Kindles and libraries around the the country being knocked down and their books being pulped. People tend to think the internet contains all knowledge, but it's only really scratching the surface. And the idea of using a Kindle to read your recorded media, you then only have access to the books that the Kindle allows you to download. A very strange form of self-imposed censorship that too many people are embracing, I think, in this current day and age. The final of these 4 one-act plays is called The Curse of Asatira, and this is a completely original play developed by the cast and written by them, which tackles a very interesting topic, which is, can we really escape our culture? It's set in a fictional world in which this kingdom has been imposed upon it a 500-year-old curse after the slaying of an innocent girl for a crime she did not commit. We are now on the brink of this curse ending, and everyone sort of seeks to use this monumental event for political gain on various sides. We have a fomenting rebellion trying to topple the religious hierarchy in place in this culture, and of course we have the religious leader attempting to segue this occasion into a prolonged period of power for himself. And what follows is a struggle of epic proportions between all elements of society and people whose relationships are not only limited to the political sphere, but of course as human beings we have our political views, and they are muddied, as all waters are, by our emotions and our loves and our relationships and our family. And this is sort of a new and original take on all the themes of epic Greek tragedy that, in the same way, I think without the cast even meaning to, from its original inception in term 1 its development, it sort of mirrored the development of the Arab Spring Rebellion in North Africa and all of the sort of wonderful and terrible things that happen when rebellion foments in an extremely traditional society. years done in an epic journey for these kids and myself. Yeah. Whenever you begin a new course, especially the first of its kind in the world, it's a huge gamble. We blow on the dice, we throw them across the felt, we hope they don't come up snake eyes. And we're very pleased to report that after 3 years of trials, tribulations, artistic explorations, that these young burgeoning artists have left our course to find wonderful, wonderful new horizons to explore. Many of them have already been signed by agents. Others are appearing in Shakespeare festivals hosted by the Royal Shakespeare Company. Some are doing films, a remake of Guys and Dolls. Others are moving on to tackle productions of Julius Caesar that are cross-gendered, making use of the work in their gender module. Others are destined for even greater things, but we're proud to report that many, if not most, of our students already have interesting artistic jobs waiting for them, whether they're going to be on stage, behind the scenes, behind the camera, directing, writing, producing, performing. They're off and running, and nothing could make me more proud than to see them take on the world, especially at this time when economies are collapsing around us and the world seems to be getting smaller. If ever we needed a renaissance, it's now, and if ever this renaissance could have an avant-garde, it's going to be these young people, and I'm very proud to have known them and very proud to have worked with them.